Dozens of industry leaders are calling for artificial intelligence regulation, warning it could lead to the threat of extinction. In a statement published by the Center for AI Safety, experts argue mitigating the risk of extinction from AI should be a global priority. It's been signed by leading industry officials, including OpenAI CEO Sam Altman. On CBS News Face the Nation Sunday, President and Vice Chair of Microsoft Brad Smith said the U.S. would benefit from these regulations.
When it comes to the protection of the nation's security, I do think we would benefit from a new agency, a new licensing system, something that would ensure not only that these models are developed safely, but they're deployed in, say, large data centers where they can be protected from cybersecurity, physical security, and national security threats.
The letter was signed by more than 300 AI industry executives, researchers, and other experts. For more insight on the current state of artificial intelligence and where it could be headed, the CEO of Rebrand Cities and founder of Prompt Camp, Hodge Flemings, joins us over Zoom. Thank you so much for joining us tonight.
Excited to be here.
So let's get right into it, trying to understand this and wrap our minds around it. How could AI technology lead us to extinction?
Okay, so let's frame this first. So now we're talking about the comparative risk of AI, comparing it to nuclear war, comparing it to pandemics. And what we're saying, the basic framing is very generic. And so it's going to create phobia, right? It's going to create a frenzy because we're saying that it has the ability to be able to wipe out humanity entirely, right? So, but we're saying this in a vacuum without really bringing the lens of there's going to be government regulation. So with government regulation, we would hope that government regulation runs somewhat in concurrent with how fast the technology is growing. We know it's going to expand a little bit faster than actual regulation, but we're also putting all of the various types of AI into one bucket: narrow, general, and super intelligent, right? And so is it possible that it could weaponize? Is it possible that it could cause a global catastrophe? I think there's some possibilities with in a vacuum without regulation. But I just think that the way it's framed puts us in a situation to where there's a lot of fear, but we do absolutely need regulation to make sure it doesn't go off the guardrails.
And when you talk about extinction, the possibility of it, when you're talking about AI technology, could it mean it in the sense of it's going to take away so many jobs and industries that people are not going to be able to make a living?
Well, I think with every single industrial revolution is going to impact jobs, good and bad, right? There are going to be jobs that are going to be impacted. If we look at, I guess when the internet started, it created a flurry of jobs. If you go back and you look back at the printing press, how many people, are missing out on a job because we don't have scribes, right? And so it's going to create new jobs. It's going to create new opportunities.
Right, but this could also wipe out industries. I mean, you're talking about a newspaper printing and things like that, and the internet created jobs, sure, but this has the ability to do it for you that could just essentially wipe out jobs and industries.
Yes. So humans are the most adaptable creatures on the planet, right? And so there are a lot of
Speak
jobs
for yourself. I don't know
people
about
don't. But so there's a lot of jobs that people don't want to go to today. I'll give you an example. Chipotle's used to love to go to Chipotle. Now, if you try to find people who want to work in the food industry, it's a challenge because now there are certain stuff that people have felt an opportunity to do something different. They don't want to go back to those old jobs. So we're going to have to adapt. And so this is something that humans are going to have to look at. Everybody's going to have to understand how they're going to operate in the presence of AI. I'm not saying that it's not going to take away jobs, but it can create better jobs. It can create prompt engineering jobs that are paying $225,000 to $350,000. So again, it is going to be a brave new world that we are going to have to operate in, and people are going to have to figure out how they're going to navigate that.
Do you think extinction is a possibility, or do you think it's just that is just thrown up against a wall, and really at the end of the day, there's going to be regulations and things will be figured out as we move through this evolving technology?
I think when you put a high level statement like that, 22 words, and you put that statement out there without context, they eventually came back with another. So I mean, it's the Center for AI Safety came back with another 8 points to kind of bring some context. I think this statement was put out there because there is concern in terms of how fast the technology is moving and evolving, and they want to have a way to be able to put the brakes on a technology that's global, right? And so now you have countries and other stakeholders that are now coming to the forefront to figure out how we're going to navigate this space. So again, I don't have a crystal ball. I can't say that there's not inherent risk, because there are risks. But I think our government and the people who and the tech companies who have created this are now at the forefront saying, look, let's make sure that we are running in parallel with regulation, so that we can make sure that it's managed properly.
Well, I'm going to give you that crystal ball that you don't have. I'm going to give it to you here and
Yeah.
just play along. So, what regulations do you think need to be in place? We saw the leaders of some AI technology companies meeting with Congress a few weeks ago. What regulations do you want to see? What ones that you think need to be in place?
So you have to look at it, I guess, a couple ways. One is regulations on how it's going to be deployed, and then look at regulations on the technology itself. So what's going to have to happen is that the government's going to have the right people in place, and I'm sure that they're going to get, I guess, the best people in the business, and these technology companies hopefully to self-regulate in some instances against their own economic interests to look at the greater good. So deployment of the technology of AI and also the technology itself, trying to figure out what are the right, proper guidelines and regulations for that, for the various types of AI that are in existence today.
How much of an uphill battle do you think it will be to find those regulations and fine tune everything as this continues to evolve and change?
I think that this is at the top of the priority list. So in terms of this being prioritized, that's not going to be an issue. Having smart people and researchers who are interested in making sure that jobs are saved, and that the public trust is at the top. So I think all hands are on deck, and I think that there's going to be an interest in making sure that we're probably going to overregulate, and we're going to impact innovation in the point or the purpose of the greater good.
Let me ask you one last question, Hodge. If people out there are afraid of this technology, what would you say to them?
Um, I would say we have had a lot of other situations, the internet, other things like that. We also hear about aliens invading, right? I mean, how many people are scared of an alien invasion? So you can talk to people about a variety of things that are a risk, and you could find people finding a variety of things that they're super concerned with. Um, People have a right to be concerned with something that they don't know a lot about. And this is something that feels like it's come out of thin air, even though AI has been in existence since the 50s. It's that this is the first time that it's been in the hands of the general public, and how fast things have kind of moved. So concern, absolutely, I understand that. But when you put out a high level statement without a lot of context, you're going to get absolute fear. And then the other side is that we live in a capitalistic society. So at the end of the day, stakeholders are also going to look at their economic interests as well.
Well, Hodge Flemings, thank you once again for joining us here on CBS News Detroit for this insight into the artificial intelligence technology and where it goes from here. We appreciate your time tonight.